Om Shanti, how are you? So, I happened to watch the speech of Dr. B.M. Hegde, who is a famous cardiologist. He said, mind is not in the brain. Brain is too tiny to hold a mind that's filled with millions and billions of thoughts. So, B.M. Hegde is very famous for thought-provoking speeches. For example, in one speech, he said uh, that we've been thinking that it is heart that pumps the blood throughout the body, but in reality, it sucks the blood. It doesn't pump. And he says it is mentioned in some Hindu Vedic scriptures. And also, he says, and he'll be revealing many medical secrets. Like that, he says, it is not the medicine that actually works, but it is the trust you have on the doctor that creates magic. So that's why uh, there's a belief in uh, people that so and so is very lucky for me. He may be some 100 kilometers away from him, but still he will manage to take bus or some other transport to only visit him, even for small physical ailments like headache, because he strongly believes only he is smart, only he is capable of curing him. So that faith creates magic in him and cures him. But he says there is no difference in the medicine given by any doctors. All medicines are same, but the trust varies. So if you happen to listen from 10 people that particular doctor is very skilled, your mind will start believing it, so you would want to go there. So that's how some doctors become very famous, whereas others are not that famous. And also, he said about an experiment where they had a group of people who were suffering from intense pain. There was a famous painkiller called opiates, and he told to one group that I'm going to give you the most powerful painkiller. But what they actually administered them was not painkiller, but a saline, that is the salt water. And to another group, they said, we are not going to give you any painkiller. We are just going to test whether this water is going to do some magic. But instead of water, they have really administered opiates to the second group. So they have been repeatedly doing this experiment for the course of 5 years, and the result shocked the researchers, because those who were administered saline, immediately they said, my pain is gone, while the other group who were truly administered opiates, they said, no, please give me some drug, this doesn't work, I'm suffering from intense pain. So that shocked them. But what actually happened was, when you say them, no matter what you give them, but you say them that it is the most powerful drug, your mind starts believing it and starts secreting certain hormones that that is the painkiller hormones that actually kills your pain. But to those who are really given the painkiller, since they were not said so, their brain still believes that they are not taking painkiller, although they are. So It was sleeping. It did not create any hormones. As a result, they were still suffering pain. So, this should say how important faith is in curing one's disease. In life altogether, there is no life without faith, right? Faith is life. So, I just wanted to share this. But okay, let's come to the mind. And also, the spiritual guru of Isha Yoga, Jaki Vasudev, Sadhguru, says that every single cell is intelligent on its own. It carries the memory of previous generations, which is why the nose of your grandfather is sitting in your face. So, compared to that, what we call as intelligent from the brain is nothing. So, what he wants to stress upon is you don't have to worry about your mind, because every single cell is more intelligent than your mind. But the thing is, not only ourselves, even this universe, which is made up of non-living things, even they are intelligent, right? Every year on the same month we are getting rain, getting cold, getting heat. So it is also intellectually designed. Nonetheless, what does it matter when we have no control about it? What's the point of knowing about it? If every cell has the greater amount of intelligence, but we have no control over it, what's the point of knowing it? Okay, it may be of some help to scientists and doctors because they have to find some medicine, but for others, there's no need. But everybody has a mind which is totally different from each other. No two individuals have the same type of mind that creates the same type of thought. So it is essential to know about the mind, to know where exactly mind is. Because Hegde said that mind is not in the brain, it is the consciousness that is the mind, because it is said somewhere in the Hindu scripture. But mind is, he says, brain is too tiny to hold the mind that creates vast number of thoughts. But in reality, mind is unimaginably tiny. Actually, it is a part of the soul itself. The soul shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows, which is why Hindus apply tilak here. It is so tiny that you cannot see it either through naked eyes or through any scientific, highly sophisticated equipment. It is the tiniest thing in this world, in the universe. That's why nobody can see the soul nor the Supreme Soul, because Supreme Soul, that is God, is also a soul just like us. We know God thinks, right? We know He knows whatever we want to speak with Him, which means He has a mind on His own, but He doesn't have a body. Then how can He have a mind when He has no brain? So this proves that not only this, so people after death, their body will be either buried or burnt. Either way, the soul separates from the body, which we call as death, to the body, not to the soul. So many times the soul wanders, sometimes it actually enters some other human being and creates some nasty work. So when people find it, when they speak with it, it clearly says, I am from this place. It clearly says everything. If you go and visit, sometimes, most of the time, it actually enters the person it is familiar with, its own relatives. So obviously, they will know who it is when they died, and even it would say how exactly it died. The point I want to make now is, if the mind is in the brain, how come it remembers it? Because the brain is somewhere else, destroyed. But how come it remembers everything? So, this is another proof that mind is not in the brain, it is within the soul. As a matter of fact, we are not this body, we are the soul that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows, which is why Hindus apply tilak here. So, there are three components of your soul. One is mind, another is intellect, and the third one is sanskar. So, sanskar is something people mistake to be a mind, because it is in sanskar the deep seated memory lies. It's basically the recording of the past facts, especially when there is something emotional, it is recorded in the sanskar. So it is based on what is already recorded in the sanskar, the mind creates thoughts accordingly. For example, when you were seeing the most beautiful girl on the planet, when you were some 3 to 5 years old, you wouldn't create any thoughts about that. But when you see the same girl when you are 25 years old, now your mind would create so many romantic thoughts, sexual thoughts, based on what you have recorded so far in your life. So it is based on the sanskar, the thoughts are produced by the mind. So, what about the intellect? Intellect has a role. Actually, it should control the mind, but it doesn't nowadays. The mind rules, because there is no one to control the mind. Whatever is recorded in the sanskar, it just creates thoughts. So, the intellect should decide what it should allow from the external world to enter your mind, or the sanskar to be exact. When the intellect becomes weak, so whatever you see, listen, everything gets recorded. Only thing is, it should induce you emotionally, that's it. Whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. So, which means the intellect has become very, very, very weak. The role of spirituality is to strengthen the intellect and make the mind surrender to the intellect. Mind should be controlled by the intellect, but it does not now. So that's why God comes. When the minds of the people of the world is at its weakest point, that's called Kali Yuga. That's when God comes. Just 100 years before the destruction of this world, God enters an old man's body, because he doesn't have a body on his own. And he names that old man as Brahma and starts giving the divine teachings through Brahma's mouth. And those who listen to the teachings, direct teachings of God through Brahma, are called Brahma Kumars and Kumaris. That is the sons and daughters of Brahma, because only they listen directly to God. That happens just 100 years before the destruction of this world. And what he says is, you are not this body. You are the imperishable soul that is eternal. It is the soul that sees through the eyes, speaks through the mouth, performs all acts through this body. It is the soul that thinks, that decides everything. It is because you no longer consider yourselves to be the soul, but this perishable body, that you couldn't differentiate between right and wrong. But that was not always the case. 5,000 years back, when this world was heaven, it is the intellect that rules the mind. It doesn't create thoughts on its own. So, as a result, and also we were completely soul conscious. We considered each other to be the soul while interacting with each other. As a result, no matter how beautiful men and women are in heaven, they did not get attracted towards each other, because their focus is in between the eyebrows where the soul is located. As a result, they were constantly happy, because the true nature of the soul itself is happiness and peacefulness. That continued for the first 2500 years. That's why we were constantly happy throughout. But after 2500 years, we slowly become body conscious instead of soul conscious. So we can no longer derive happiness from within. We had to seek pleasure outside through physical senses. So we got addicted to sensual pleasures. That's when these five vices, lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego, emerge from within us. So, as a result, we started committing more and more sins under the influence of these five vices. As a result, we suffer the punishments in the form of diseases, poverty, natural calamities, struggle between family members and between nations. We are at the peak of suffering when God comes, which is now, and reveals this secret. Why? It is because we have no idea about who we truly are, that is, we are souls, that our mind gets so corrupted with vicious thoughts. Now we need to purify our soul. How is that possible? By connecting our mind and intellect to the ever pure soul, the supreme soul, God Shiva. This God Shiva is called Allah by Muslims, Heavenly Godfather by Christians. God is just one. So, now, the main reason between the married couples is because they consider each other to be the soul, to be the body. They have no idea about that they are interacting with the eternal soul, and every soul looks same appearance wise, but based on the recording sanskar, everything is different. No two souls have the same sanskar. Then how can you expect your wife to be exactly like you, or vice versa? So we need to understand this. If 5% encounters a similar situation, the reaction by 5 persons will be totally different from each other. So you need to understand this. That's the main reason we face betrayal. by our spouse, by our close friends or relatives, because you would trust them with certain secrets of your life. But to your surprise, they would come out in the open, revealing yourself. That's something you couldn't bear. You, from that time on, you would consider them to be your arch enemy. But God says, don't hate anybody like that. They are just expressing their tamoguni behavior. Tamoguni, satoguni means satoguni is it refers to the time when the intellect is powerful. Tamoguni refers to the time when the intellect is at its weakest point. So whatever was pre-recorded, it just act out. Even they would think they will have their own justification of why they did it. So no matter what you say, they are not just going to understand it. No matter what they say about their justification, you are not going to understand it either. So you need to appreciate the fact every single soul is different in its act. But one thing is sure, although he turns a traitor, the reason you got punished is because of your own sin. So now we do not know what sin is. Nobody is there to teach us. No religions can teach us because they are created by humans, not by God. God is just one. He comes only once, and it is only the knowledge of God that reveals you the truth about what is good and what is bad. God says, whatever you do under the influence of these 5 vices or sins, even if it is slight, if you look at a girl and have the thoughts about her beauty or whatever physical, it's a sin. You may not have disturbed her anything, but still you are doing a sin for which you will definitely be punished sooner or later. So once you know that this is a sin, you will try to stay away from that. So put it very simple. God says, whatever you do under the influence of body consciousness is sin. When you create thoughts while you consider yourself, or while you don't consider yourself to be the soul, you will definitely be doing some sinful thoughts, creating some sinful thoughts. Whatever you speak without soul consciousness, you are definitely creating sinful thoughts, sinful words. So only thing you need to worry about is to always stay soul conscious, no matter what you do, and to remember God as a point of light. And also you need to keep your mind busy churning the points of Murli, which is the direct knowledge of God that God gives through Brahma's mouth, which is available absolutely free of cost in the name of Murli in all Brahma Kumari's Rajog meditation centers. You can also access it online in several websites and YouTube channels. We'll be giving the links of some of them in the description below. So if you make sure that every single step you take is according to the God's direction, you don't have to worry about whether someone that's close to you will become a traitor, because you haven't done any sin in the first place. So we are seeing in the lives of many celebrities such deceit, right? So always be clean. That's possible only if you hold on to God's hand and follow His directions at every step. And your main aim is to have full control over your mind and sanskar. By strengthening your intellect, by connecting your mind to God as much as possible, no matter what you do, just make sure that you consider yourself to be the soul and to remember the Father of all souls, God Shiva, as a point of light in the golden red colored light world, because that's where God resides. That's called the soul world or Parandam or Parlok. And also we souls before taking birth resided along with God there. And also when the world gets destroyed, you will be leaving the body and will be going there. So that's the true home of souls. So as soon as you get this knowledge, you consider yourself to be dead to this old world. Anyway, it's going to be destroyed. So there's no point in having attachment to anybody or anything in this old world, because that will hurt you when it gets destroyed right before your eyes. So if you're smart, your mind should be attached only to the indestructible God and the heaven where we are going to go. That's the place of eternal bliss, peace, and wealth. Nobody is sinful there. Nobody has any traces of these five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. As a matter of fact, even the childbirth happens when husband and wife have the thought of having a baby. That's when the girl gets pregnant. Not through sex. They don't know what sex is. They don't know what lust is. That's the power of the powerful soul. It doesn't create such waste thoughts or the vicious thoughts. It is only when the soul becomes weak, it creates so many vicious and waste thoughts that corrupts our mind and wastes our time, and also pushes towards punishment. Of course, we've been sinners for the past 2500 years while we were in hell. But in order to escape from the punishments of the sins of the past, make sure you destroy all the sinful thoughts that's recorded in the sanskar by connecting your mind constantly to God and to nobody else. So this is the only way to escape all the punishments. It is when we purify ourselves, the world itself get purified. And also we will be getting the healthy body. As Sadhguru said, our every cell is intelligent, but still it's creating cancer. If it is intelligent, why should it create cancer? So, but when your mind is perfect, when your soul is powerful, have full control over the mind, it doesn't create any waste or sinful thoughts. As a result, we will be in a place that is free of sin. So we will be having a body free of all diseases. You don't have to worry about it. So it is by taking control of your mind, everything becomes perfect. But when you least bother about your mind by saying that don't worry about anything, just stay calm. That's yoga. Nobody is going to benefit from that. So you need to understand, you have to clean your sanskar, fill it with pure thoughts. Only the knowledge given directly by God becomes the pure thoughts. Everything else is impure. Just don't imbibe it. So this is the direct teaching of God that's going to benefit you and everybody. So make sure you share this knowledge to everybody you know, so that you can help them as well. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.